How you doing, guys? Big Mac Down School here again today, back with another hobby hangout for you. This is going to be a semi-regular thing, so every other week I'll be doing, let me just check that volume's up, because last time we had an issue with volume. Yes, it's working. Yeah, it's going to be every other week, every other Sunday. I'm going to be doing a Sunday morning stream for viewers that don't catch my Tuesday evening one. So I'm going to be working on some Orky miniatures, probably a bit of the Norzilla or the Howdah, I reckon. Morning Darren McCormack Parker, and morning Alex in the chat as well. So probably going to be working on the Norzilla, is Howdah, and then seeing where I go from there. I have the other day I did a little bit of work on, you might have noticed if you follow me on Instagram. And if you don't, there's a link in the description below. I did a little bit of work on Makari the other day when I was watching a stream. And hopefully I'll have him finished soon, Makari. And then that'll motivate me to finish Gazgul. And then I'll get Gazgul, Makari, the Norzilla all finished in quick succession. Fingers crossed, all going well. I'm just going to try something here. Hopefully my desk down camera, aka my phone, has linked up to Streamlabs here, but I'm not sure it has. So if it's not, it'll just be a blank screen behind me. But let's give it a go. Oh no, not that one. This one. It doesn't seem to have done anything there. So what I need to do is just adjust some settings on here. And then, fingers crossed, I'll be able to give you the desk down image that I like to try and give you. Is that a reflection? Yeah, you can just see my phone in shot there, I think, can't you? But not to worry. Right, what am I doing here? Properties. And then I need to change that. I think that's the same. There's a code you have to put in to link your phone via a local area network. And I think it's the same as the one I've got written down, but is it? Ah, no, it's not. Here we go. So we need to change that to a 2. And hopefully that will connect. There we go, it's connected, but of course it's in the wrong orientation now. That's very irritating. Morning Modelling for Advantage. I was promised a new shirt. Well, you were not promised a new shirt, I think you'll find, because if you remember, if you caught a stream a little while ago, I didn't have, morning Gary Knox as well. I don't do the shirts on a Sunday, but also I've not actually managed to order a new shirt yet. Let's see if we can get this to rotate slightly. Boom. There we go. Oh, it's gone back to that position. That's annoying. Let's see if we can get it to do it this way. No. How did it go back to that position then? Very irritating. Right, so we want it in this position. Here's my desk setup, by the way. So you can see it now. It's a lot cleaner than it was before. Not quite as messy. I wonder, is there a thingy on that? I don't know, a microphone. Nobody complained about any issue last time with echo. So hopefully it's the same this time. Let's see if we can put that there and just slot that in place without it jumping back to that other orientation. Magic, there we go. So I'll click done on here. And then you can see what's on the desk in front of me. Fake news, exactly. Fake news. Everybody knows about fake news now. So you know you get fake news from me, and you get alternative facts from Modelling for Advantage. So there we go. Yeah, you can just see that in shot, can't you? So I'll try and lift it up a little bit. Magic, it's just out of shot, and you can just see my Mario pants there as well. Look at them. You can just sort of see them. You might get a better look at them in the future, but there's a few holes in them, so I don't want to give you too good a look now in case I accidentally part of my anatomy falls out or something. So there we go. Got a coffee in my Steve-O mug. I'll show it to that camera rather than trying to show it to this camera. That would be silly, wouldn't it? So there's my 6 Plus Steve-O mug, ready to go with a coffee. Right. Norzilla, should we get to work on him straight away, or should we have a look at the... No, let's have a look in a chat at the about the GW releases first, and I'll share my thoughts on them. And then after that, I can get to work on the Norzilla. We don't want that one. No, we want this one. Oh no, we don't want it yet. Because the thing, I have to get to the right screen over here. Otherwise, you're just going to get some streamception happening. Oh, I'm going to take a look at some Gear Guts stuff as well, because at the minute, apparently, there's 25% off Black Friday sale on the Gear Guts website. So, Orc related. I'll take a look at that. Right, where do we want to get to here? I'll get to the top of the page. I was going to call this stream Decadence Skull Decay. And you'll see why in just a second. Because I love a bit of wordplay. Display capture to there. To there. Boom! There we go. Magic. Brett the Warboss joined us. Good evening from Australia. Good evening. Good morning from the UK. So we've got Warhammer Preview Online Decadence and Decay. Nick Tomlin joined us in the chat as well. Welcome. I was going to call this stream Decadence Skull Decay to go with the Decadence and Decay, but of course I didn't think to do it in time. It's just there, the title. There. So I didn't think to do it in time, or didn't. Well, I did. I wasn't sure if I was going to have a look at these previews, basically. So I just thought, no, I'll just leave it as a Sunday morning hobby hangout and see where we go from there. Great to have so many active in the chat on a Sunday morning here in the UK as well. So fantastic stuff. I know you're not all in the UK. We've got Alex from Spain. We've got Brack from Australia. And I think the others are all from the UK. But let me know if you're not. UK or Ireland part. I don't know where everyone's from, to be honest, because I've tried to get a roll call going before on my stream for people to say where they're from, where they're watching from, the similar way to how Tabletop Minions does on his every other Sunday stream, but it didn't quite get the steam it needed, I think. So scrolling down here on this Decadence and Decay preview, which was the preview that happened yesterday. We're getting, first of all, a campaign book for Warhammer 40,000, and it's called Warzone Charadon. It's about the Charadon sector, funnily enough. And then we've got Warhammer 40k Rust to Rust. Should we watch the animated trailer? Or no, it was quite, it wasn't anything spectacular, I think. But basically, just diving straight into it, the armies you're going to get rules for. It says here, there's more than just background of an epic war zone in here. The book also includes rules for Death Guard, Adeptus Mechanicus, Imperial Knights, and Drukhari. So, 4 factions you're getting rules for straight in there. And it's interesting to see they're not leading with Space Marines for once, although they are technically leading with Space Marines. So Darren McCormack is Irish. Are you living in an island as well? Or are you elsewhere? Gary Knox is in Northern Ireland. No, he's living in Scotland, but he's Northern Irish. Excellent stuff. And so that's we're getting four lots of faction rules already. 2 Imperial ones, a Death Guard one, a Chaos one, therefore, and a Drukhari one, which is a Xenos one, obviously. Living in Dublin, cool. So we're getting rules for all those armies straight in there. Typhus was in the trailer. I was talking to someone and they said they wanted a new Typhus mini the other day. And I was surprised because the Typhus mini is not that old. But if they don't like the pose, I understand why they want a new one. But yeah, the Typhus mini is not that old because it's had a refresh recently. It's that Saturday Night Fever pose, I think, that a lot of people still can't get their heads around. It's pretty off-putting for some, I think, isn't it? Just read a little bit about this. The warriors of Kimura are keen to take advantage of the chaos and confusion caused by Typhus's invasion. So Typhus is invading the Charadon sector. Alongside these codex supplements are rules for playing through the Charadon campaign yourself. Can you claim Metallica for the Death Guard, or will you try to stop Typhus? Wow, I need to really practice this before I start, don't I? The Plague Purge mission pack allows everyone to join in the fun in the Charadon Warzone with a host of specific crusade rules. Send your army campaigning through a land of rust and decay and pick up some new relics and abilities along the way. The same way as Beyond the Veil, this gives you a whole new region of space to set your campaign. And then you can get this mission pack plague purge. Will your crusade force emerge wreathed in glory, or will they end up on a rusted scrap heap? And then there's Real Space Raiders. Oh, look at this. A new Drukhari Codex. Excellent stuff. Excellent news for Xenos fans out there. Eldari, Drukhari in particular. I always get that mixed up. Eldari is the racing general. Morning, Bazza. Bazza's joined us from Underdog Painting. Eldari is a racing general, isn't it? Eldari is a racing general. Ayunsari, Craftworld Eldar, and Drukhari are Dark Eldar. So I'm always unsure now which term to use to describe the whole race. The overall Eldar race is the easiest way to do it, isn't it? That's the old-fashioned way. The first Xenos Codex of 2021 makes the Drukhari faster and deadlier than ever. You'll see more attacks, higher damage, lethal combat output across the board. And then they give you an example of the Incubi who have been beefed up in terms of number of attacks and damage to their weapons do and stuff like that. So interestingly, on the stream yesterday, they pointed out the fact that Space Marines have gone up to 2 wounds. So all Space Marines are now 2 wounds. And they're countering that by making all weapons damage 2. So what's the point in putting them up to 2 wounds? They're not making all weapons damage 2, but elite units, a lot of elite units might gain buffs to their weapons, close combat weapons, maybe Tau will gain buffs to some of their shooting weapons and stuff like that. So you'll have more ways to counter the Space Marine high wound count, relative to the battlefield role of the models, because there wasn't a lot of 2 wound line infantry in the past, but now there is in Space Marines, all Space Marine armies. So the Demiglaves and the Claves, or Demiclaves rather, and the Claves, they're both damage 2 now. So yeah, you can take out those Space Marines in combat. You just got to get into combat first. Number of attacks, standard Incubus gets 3 attacks, and a Clavex, which is the squad leader, gets 4 attacks. And then if you take the dual blades, you get 2 extra attacks as well. So that's 6 attacks with your Clavex, putting out 2 damage each. So your Clavex alone could shred through an entire unit of Space Marines. It's -2 on the weapon. So there we go. And then we're getting a Dark Angels Codex supplement. So that's the next Space Marine Codex supplement. I'm not going to go into the rules too much on that. They've got rules related to the Fallen, as they always do. I'm not too sure. I didn't pay much attention when that bit was on. I'd sort of tune out when Dark Angel stuff comes on, to be honest. And then we've got Necromunda, so that's all the 40k we're getting for the time being. Then we've got Necromunda, House of Artifice Revealed. And this is an expansion for the Vansar house and further models, further rules for them. Some really cool looking models, like tech heavy models here. There's male and female riders on these boards. That's a female and that's a female, and the 2 in the middle are males. That's just the same model twice, isn't it, with different heads though. So some of the female heads on these Vansar models look quite masculine, but it's not to say that they're not female. It's just when I think a lot of people want GW to move away from the boob plates and stuff like that, they expect to be able to tell when a model's female without having to have the boob plate. So just from the face, from the body shape and stuff like that. But not everybody's got the same body shape as well, so you can't necessarily say that a model's male or female. This one looks female to me. At the front here, it looks slightly shorter than this one. is it slightly slimmer hips? I don't know, but it has got a face mask on. I think maybe the whoever's photoshopped this image has just shrunk down the image of this miniature at the front here. So maybe that's a bit misleading there. But this face here looks reasonably female. And the thing is, you don't want to, in my opinion anyway, I definitely don't want to have to paint. There's a noise going on behind me. I'm like, what's that noise? It's my coffee machine turning off. Yeah, I personally don't want to have to paint makeup around the eyes of a female miniature and the lips and stuff like that, because I'm not that talented, quite frankly. So yeah, there's these skyboard riders, and then there's these tentacly boys and girls. So they've got like extra limbs, and these guys have got these skyboards, which no doubt make them very fast, reminiscent to a certain extent, although not got the sleek shape of the Drukhari Hellions, of course. And before we move on, I'll just nip back to the chat. The Van Saar models, they look so similar to an Infinity Miniatures range. Yeah, they do. It's that like tech enthusiast culture, isn't it? I think. Yeah, so it's like they're quite cyberpunky. And then it's on to Middle Earth after that. We're getting a new Treebeard miniature. Now, looking at this miniature, it looks to me a lot bigger than the previous Treebeard miniature. Not that I follow the Hobbit range a lot, or the Lord of the Rings range a lot, but it looks to me like we'll probably get the Hobbits up to, like, looking at this still from the clip here, the Hobbits are roughly about the size of his face, so the Hobbits will come up to probably that first bit of root that joins the ankle there, probably about there. So this is a much more to scale in comparison to the movie. This is much closer to that scale than the miniature we'd had previously, which I think the miniature we'd had previously was probably maybe up to this guy's elbow. So he was a lot bigger than the Hobbits, a lot bigger than most of the other miniatures, but because he was made of metal, they weren't able to make him this big before. So now they're using same technology, the same 3D design, and the same new plastic molds as they've done for kits like the Wraith Knight, for example, and of course the Spirit of Durthu, that whole Dryads, I can't think what they're called, Sylvaneth range. Yeah, so the same sort of techniques they're using there, they're now using to do this new Treebeard miniature, which is fantastic news, because when I play a game associated with a movie, so if I was playing the Harry Potter game, if I'm playing not so much the Marvel Crisis Protocol game, because they don't base them on the movies, they base them on the comics, but say one of the DC Universe games, then I want miniatures that look like you see in the movie, and when they relate to each other, I want it to look like the same scale as the movie. So this is really good for fans of that universe in particular. Yeah, so let's move on to the next one. You're getting a new fun fact about Merry and Pippin here. Which one's Merry and which one's Pippin? This one's Pippin, isn't it? The one with the blue jacket is Pippin, and the one with the yellow waistcoat is Merry. So, fun fact. These guys, these hobbits, are ever so slightly taller than the other Hobbit miniatures. So when they were in, what's it called, the place where Treebeard lives, Fangorn, when they were in Fangorn Forest, they were drinking this water, and the water is what makes the Ents, which is what Treebeard is, what makes the Ents grow to such a great height. And when they were drinking this water, it made them grow ever so slightly. So they got like a couple of inches taller. So yeah, they're ever so slightly taller than the other Hobbit miniatures. And then on to the next bit, which is Warhammer Underworld's Desecrate Diachasm, a new warband, and this is a fantastic looking warband. The only thing I don't like about it, I've never been a fan of eyebrow piercings, so this bird's got an eyebrow piercing. This lady warrior has got an eyebrow piercing. Let's click to the next one. This is her sister, and she is a mage or sorceress. One thing Adam Troke pointed out on the stream was the fact that this flame, this fire within the head of the staff there, it almost looks like it's just floating in the middle of it, which is a fantastic bit of design. However, when you look a little bit closer, it's attached at the ring, and the artist that's painted it has done a lot of work to make it look like it's floating there. He's put a lot of shade around where it joins to the ring there. The Entwash says modelling for advantage in reference to the previous section. Yeah, so the artist has actually done a fair little bit of work to make it look natural and like it's not attached to the ring there, the head of the staff. Just the way they paint the miniatures in general is fantastic. Like there's this miniature, the sculpting on the face is awesome. This face doesn't look particularly feminine because it's had that much done to it in terms of horns sprouting from the head, and then all the bags under the eyes and the wrinkles on the face and stuff. So I think when you think of what you want from a feminine miniature, a female miniature, you think feminine, you think it'll draw you to it kind of thing, but this isn't that, but it still looks relatively feminine in the miniature when you look at the size and the body shape. Compare it to the previous one. This waistline is slightly narrower and the face is a different shape to a male miniature's face. The nose is slightly more elven, like it pixie nose kind of just like flicks out at the bottom there. And then this one, we can't see the nose side on or anything, so we don't know what that looks like, but this is more like hag-like, this miniature. But it's really a really nice couple of miniatures there. And then the two sort of henchmen of this warband, I'd call them. Yeah, they're just faceless henchmen with masks on and stuff, but the paint jobs they've done on these are fantastic. And it makes me want to get hold of this warband. I don't play Underworlds because I find it too much of a deck building game, and I'm not a huge fan of deck building. I'd rather just have a set of rules, an established set of rules that I just use to play the game. That's the way I like to do it. When you start modifying things over and over and like building a deck to try and reveal your next card and stuff like that, for me it's too much. It's too much like bookkeeping, and there's too much setup to the game before the game. You can go with like set decks, I think, but it turns me off from the game. The thing is with Underworld, you could play the game without miniatures and it wouldn't make a difference. So you could just play it with tokens instead of the miniatures. So it's not really a miniatures game; it's more of a board game and a deck building game for me. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Underworlds. You get a lot of nice warbands and miniatures in there though, so I don't want to knock it too much. But yeah, lovely beefy lad there. Fantastic weathering on both the armour and the weapon and the leather actually. Yeah, so flick over to the next guy. A lot of people in the chat yesterday compared this guy to the Slambo miniature. So Slambo was a miniature originally from the 80s, I believe. Possibly from Hero Quest, but I'm not entirely sure about that. And they did a re-release of him a couple of years ago. And he's got like this pose where his weapons are just at his side, sort of going diagonally away from his body. But it was a pose very much of the day and of the limits of the ability to sculpt miniatures and the materials he were working with and the molds he were working with. But every so often they do a miniature like that, and I think it's a little throwback to that era. So it's a nice little touch, and a lot of people hold a lot of fondness for poses like that, and for especially when it's a chaos miniature like Slambo was. It's gives you that little link to the past and to nostalgic memories of playing years ago. I don't have those links because I'm not that old, but I look that old, but I'm not that old. But I just didn't play with Slambo back then. I think he was in Hero Quest, but yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I love the animal pelt on his shoulders there. It's like a drake pelt or something like that. It's got a horn sprouting from his shoulder through it as well, by the looks of it. And then it's got a hand, so it's like a 3-fingered hand. So I'm not exactly sure what the pelt is. Or is it a foot? I don't know. But yeah, it's like a scaled pelt there, like some kind of chaos beast, maybe some kind of warp beast. Scrolling further down, we've got Warhammer Age of Sigmar, the path to excess. And this is the excess portion of the preview. So of course the decadence portion, the decay portion was covered by the Death Guard. I'll just get a sip of water before we move on to this portion, and you can probably see from there's still in the video there, you can already see like a sort of dark bit of armour here, and well, blazing golden armour, but it's quite a dark image. So then scrolling down, we've got Sigvald. So this is Sigvald the something magnificent, yeah, Sigvald the Magnificent. And this is the old miniature. It's a really nice miniature with a really nice paint job anyway. It's a little bit simplistic. We'll look at a few bits here. I was just going to start pointing to the screen like you could look at me, but then I forgot, yeah, I've got to use the cursor. So looking here, he's got a nice long sword there. It's got a snake wrapped around the hilt of it, golden pommel, and then it's got all this beautiful golden armour, lovely flowing locks, this round shield here, which is like the size of his body there. The armour on his legs as well is absolutely fantastically sculpted. The cape's just gently blowing in the breeze away from him. It's beautiful, beautiful overall. So much love of Slaanesh going to AOS, but where are the Noise Marines? Yeah, I think a lot of people want Slaanesh in 40k and Mortal Slaanesh in 40k, so not Demonettes and not updates for the Slaanesh Demon range, which we've had. But hopefully this is an indication of what we'll get in the not too distant future. I just realised, like, when I'm looking at the camera, when I'm looking over this way, I'm actually looking up at the I'm looking up at beyond the camera at the screen behind me, so I'm looking at myself on the screen rather than looking down the lens of the camera, which I should be doing. Yeah, so this is Sigvald the Magnificent, and let's scroll further down and see what happens. Magic! Wow, look at that. Glorious miniature. I don't want to get to nothing making enough noise to be noticed, says Darren. So yeah, I don't want to get too much like Chapter Master Varrock here, but that is glorious. That armour, the way the cape's blowing out behind him as if he's just landed from a tall position in the sky. He's got these horns sprouting from his head now. He's got that round shield still. He's got it's more or less exactly the same shield, and it's like it's just a little bit of a bigger version of the shield. Although compared to his torso, he's grown mightily. So compared to his torso, it's actually a lot smaller now. It was like way bigger than his torso previously. Let's just scroll up and show you there. So it was like almost covered his entire torso and head there on that one. And this one just would cover just his entire torso, probably to his chin. But it's the same design on the shield and everything with the Slaaneshi symbol. We go over to the pommel and the hilt of the sword. And he's got kind of like this cage around the sword now, this golden metallic cage, which is representative of what was there previously, the snake on the sword. Yeah, these flowing capes, fantastic. I can see people using this for two conversions in particular. I reckon you'll see a lot of people use it for a Fulgrim conversion, although I don't think there's any need to do that, because I suspect with AOS Mortal Slaanesh getting a release now, I suspect in the not too distant future 40k Mortal Slaanesh will get releases. So I reckon we'll see a Fulgrim miniature in the not too distant future. But if this is the right scale, what you'll see people doing probably is taking the torso and the arms and everything, chopping the bottom half off, and then they'll attach it to the Morathi miniature, the snake like Morathi lower half from her like demon form, if you like. So you'll get like Fulgrim conversions, but also I think you'll get 30k players using him for Sanguinius conversions, because I suspect, I don't know how big this miniature is, but I suspect it's not like full-blown demon size, so it's not going to be like Mortarion size, it's not going to be Magnus size. It's going to be more like Guilliman size, something like that. Plastic Guilliman, that is. So I think you'll see 30k players potentially using this as a Sanguinius conversion, and you know, maybe some as a Fulgrim conversion as well. The reason I was talking about size actually is because I was talking about it in relation to price. So I reckon this is going to be £50 miniature, something like that, whereas the Sanguinius miniature from Forge World I think is 75 quid. So you could see people using this as a Sanguinius conversion as well. It's got a very similar sort of cage around the bottom of the sword there, around the hilt of the sword. So yeah, it's that similar sort of really elaborate armor design and stuff as well that I think will enable people to use it as a viable option and a viable alternative to a Sanguinius Forge World miniature. And the hair, it's gorgeous, isn't it? You just probably, I imagine this, where these horns attach to the head, I imagine it'll leave like a recess if you don't attach the horns where they'd sit into when you glue it into position. So I think probably you'll just need to sculpt a bit of hair back in place there, but I don't know. It might attach a different way. So it may be easier, it may be harder. So yeah, that's a lovely, lovely looking miniature, and then there's some more lovely miniatures down here. We get a little bit of a closer look at his face here though, so looks like these two small horns here on the front, they sort of attach into like a recessed little divoted bit, and then these ones on the side, they definitely go into the hair, don't they? Yeah, they must do. So they'd leave like, looks like they'd leave big divots out of the side of his head and hair there. And then yeah, you look at the cage of the weapon there, that's like what I was talking about when I said it's reminiscent of the snake. It sort of wraps around the bottom of the sword. The shield's fantastic as well. And the paint job as well. Let's just appreciate the paint job for a second while I grab some coffee. It is absolutely fantastic. Scrolling down, we get some of his warriors. So Sigvald needs someone to protect him on the battlefield. Not protect him, but accompany him. You know, someone who is as close to his equal as possible, as close to perfection as possible. So we've got these warriors here. I don't know what they're called. These are Murimdesh Painbringers, by the looks of it. So this guy's the leader of the squad, the guy that's at the front at the minute, I think. Just going to mute that for a quick second. Okay, yeah, so this guy at the front is the leader of the squad, I believe. And he's got lovely curved blade and everything. I can see some people potentially using these blades, try to get them off bit sights, and using them for things like White Scar conversions and various other Space Marine conversions. If they are of a... we've got Essex Boys in the chat as well. Welcome, mate. So I didn't even notice you pop in there. Sorry about that. And JR Blazing Arrow as well, morning. So yeah, I can see people using these blades as Space Marine conversions and maybe some as White Scar conversions, because it's that kind of foreign Eastern sort of blade where it's like slightly more elaborate than it needs to be and stuff like that. So I can see people definitely using these for things like that. I do, when I see like Age of Sigmar miniatures, because I don't play the game, I tend to think of what I could use the miniatures and the bits on the miniatures for conversion wise. And then turning to this next one, a lovely open pose there. A lot of opportunity to go to town on the paint job, on the chest plate armour and the legs and everything there. And the artists have done, to be fair, done a lot of work on that armour, making it look like a sort of tarnished gold. It's fantastic. Tarnished, but not too tarnished, because you need to be as close to perfection as you can. And then this one, another lovely, fantastic miniature. They've got like a purple wash on the shield around here. Looks fantastic. Let's go to the next one. Again, you know, I'm just going to be saying similar things, so I'll let you have a look at them while I have a little bit of a waffle. Will I be getting any of these miniatures, says JR Blazing Arrow? Not likely, because I don't play AOS. I don't play 40k either, to be fair. I just collect the miniatures mainly. I do try and play 40k when I've got a suitable opponent there and stuff. So yeah, I'm not likely to be getting these miniatures unless I really fancy just painting one of them one day. The Sigvald one is the one I've been most likely to get, I think, because I enjoy big miniatures, to be fair. Whether that's a big monster, a big tank, a big character, something like that. I've got a few 30k Primarchs for just that reason, but I've not got around to painting them yet. So yeah, it's something that's potentially further down the pipeline in the future for me. But it's you know, something I need to build myself up to, I think, painting ability wise. Excuse me, bit of a yawn there. Oh, it's 8:30 now. I shouldn't be that sleepy, really, should I? And then scrolling further down, you need more of a less of an elite warrior. So then there are the Simbaresh Twin Souls. Now these miniatures have very similar armour, but they've got different faces and stuff. If you look closely at the face, it looks quite demonic, shall we say. So these the lore of these models is that they have had a demon soul connected to their soul, so the souls are now become entwined, and it's leading to the mutations on the faces and stuff like that. So they link very closely aesthetically to demonettes. I love this. Is that like a cudgel, that weapon he's got there? I'm not too sure. I'm not too familiar with like medieval weapons and the names for them, but it's kind of like a kosh or a cudgel or something like that, isn't it? So yeah, but if you look at his face, it looks almost like halfway between human and demonette, which is fantastic. And then this one here with the whip, the demonettes use whips as well. Flicking to the next one, we've got an absolutely almost entirely demonette face here. I hated this one when I first saw it, but then looking at what they were doing with it, it's like I kind of get why they've done it. So the face is very distorted. It's like stretched back like that. I don't know. There's stretched back skin and like facelifts and stuff like that on certain miniatures. Is it Urian Rakoth? Does he have something like that, or Fabius Bile perhaps? I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's that's sort of like trying to make yourself, altering yourself to trying to make yourself perfect and stuff, and then it's got the horns sprouting from the head as well. It looks very demonette, that face, though, doesn't it? And the way the artist has painted the liquid in the bottle there, most of the bottles are full, you'll notice as we flick round. So the bottles and containers, that's almost full, that one on the waistband there, but then flicking round to this one, that's almost empty. So it's interesting that they've actually painted some nearly empty there. And then this one, again, a massive tongue coming from the mouth. This one's quite demonette-like. It's got that almost sliced-in smile there as well, and a horn sprouting from the forehead. And this one, I just love this one with no nose. There's something about miniatures with no nose. This is quite a comic book approach to it. But if you look at, aesthetically, look at someone like Lord Voldemort in Harry Potter, and that's more sinister, more something wrong there, something's not quite right. So it's interesting that they go for that, and then it's got like a Mohican there as well. Really fantastic looking miniatures. This one, just go back to that one. You look at this claw here and the things coming off this claw. You could arguably use that as like, depending on the scale, you could use that potentially as something like a power fist, I was thinking. But it'd probably have to be as a power fist on like a Chaos Guardsman, something like that. So if you want, some of these miniatures would be really good for making 30k Chaos Afflicted Guard regiments, that kind of thing, I think. You could make a really nice Lucius the Eternal model from them. Yeah, exactly. Buy an entire kit. You've got the whip there. You've got some fantastic looking swords, and it's not. Don't forget, it's not just these ones I'm showing you now, because I believe they said it's a dual kit. And looking at the armor on the miniature, and the accoutrement around the waist, the bottles and stuff, it does look like it's. Is it a dual kit? I don't know, because there's a lot of they've got a lot more, or have they? No, they've not really, have they? I thought they had a lot more robes on them and stuff, but they've not. Yeah, so looking at the armour and the accoutrement, you could easily make a really nice Lucius the Eternal. He's supposed to have that sliced scarring all over his face, isn't he? So what you could do is take the head from the Lucius the Eternal miniature. I'd probably get a Primaris Marine torso, and then I'd take just a lot of bits of the armour off here, shave it off and stuff, and just add it onto Lucius's armour. I think it could look really, really nice. You're right there. Definitely, it's a great idea. Right, well, that's it for the preview. There's no more for the preview. There is another preview coming at the start of December, I think they said, but it's a Black Library one, so it's if you want to listen to Black Library's authors talk about the work and stuff like that, and potentially maybe about certain parts of lore and stuff, then maybe check that out. So, I'll leave it there with that. I don't know what I'm going to do with this Howdor, to be honest, but I'll come back to my desk down view nonetheless. Boom, there we go. So this is what I was planning on painting. I'll just get another sip of coffee here, a long sip of coffee, I think. That's gone very cold now. I did not drink that quick enough. It's 20 to 9 now. On Sunday morning, I aim to go for around about an hour, but I might go for a little bit longer today, maybe up to 9:30, let's see. But yeah, I'm not sure where I want to start with this. I was thinking with the front, should I zoom in with that? Can I zoom in with that? No, it's not zooming in, is it? Not to worry. I was thinking with the front, I want it to, oh no, I don't want to move that. I'll leave it there, just to not mess about with it. Oh no, that's a different thing actually, isn't it? Oh, we can zoom in a little bit, but not much. Look at that, magic. Right, so I've zoomed in a tiny bit there. Not an awful lot though. You can see a little bit of mess on this side of my desk if we tilt it that way. No. Right. So yeah, I was thinking I wanted to leave this white potentially, but I'm going to dirty it up. What do I want to do this behind then? Do I want to do that black? I was going to say I could do it green, but I've got no green panels on the miniature so far, and I'd rather not. I'd rather stick to colours that are mostly on the miniature already. I think maybe some red somewhere, some silvers. I did want to do some silver on my Macari miniature as well. So what I might do today is get a little bit of metallic work done on this. Just pick out certain areas with metallic paints, certain panels and stuff like that. And then come back in the future with... I thought that was going to fall over then. Ah, you know what? It's rounded at the back. I didn't even notice that. I thought it was like the front, so it would just stand up like that. But it's rounded at the back, so if you leave it like that, it just rocks back and forth. I rock my howdah back and forth. I'm going to have to nip a little bit further away from the camera than I like to. You can see my rear end as I step up to grab my paint. Now the trouble is, I've got tools on top of my paint again. I had that issue a little while ago, but not too many, thankfully. Oh, I started reading the Brutal Cunning novel, and I'm 3 chapters in. They're very short chapters, which is great for me because it means I don't have to be sat there reading it for ages. Because I'm a lorry driver, sometimes I'll get like a spare 5-10 minutes, and then I might be able to get an entire chapter done. But yeah, I'm enjoying it so far, like I said. So it's it goes from, so far it's gone Orc chapter, Mechanicus chapter, Orc chapter. I probably find the Mechanicus bit harder to read because I'm reading it and I'm creating voices in my head, so I'm creating like an emotionless sort of robotic way of speaking for the Mechanicus. But for the Orcs, I just do, oh, I'm an Orc, oh, cut the Orc, rah, that kind of thing. So I was talking to my friends last night and they were laughing at me because I do I read quite often when I'm reading dialogue in books. I read it out loud because I live alone and stuff. So and I largely work alone. So when I'm reading aloud, it's doesn't bother me. It's just it helps me get into the character a little bit more. Had a few little messages in the chat. Let's have a look. Make 15-hour shift. My 15-hour shift is at an end. Time for me to go to bed. Night night, all boss man. Night night, Darren. A 15-hour shift, that is something you don't need, isn't it? If it's a rockin', don't bother knocking. Is that a reference to Darren going to bed? Or is that a reference to my booty in the background of that shot there? Right, we've got some paints here. We've got some paints. Trying to work out, I do have a pot of lead belcher there that is pretty dried out. It's almost empty as well, so it's not too much of a loss. And I've got more pots of lead belcher, thankfully, because I collected the Conquest magazines and because I collected the some of the Mortal Realms magazines up to like issue 27 or something. I've got a few pots of lead belcher spare, so yeah, I'll be alright with that. Right, what do we want here? So I've got the bulk metal, I've got lead belcher. Hopefully this is the one that's not dried out. Glenn Arjun is in the chat. 7:44 here. So you are an hour. Oh, not an hour behind us. No, 7:44 p.m. here. So you are what, 11 hours ahead of us. Always seem to miss your streams. Conquest only just ended in Australia, right? So there we go. Getting issue 80 on Thursday. That's the last issue, man. I kind of hoped they'd go to 100 issues and throw some of the Phobos, like the sort of recon marines, throw some of them in there. But you got information about them in the final few issues anyway, so you know, especially when you saw a little bit of information about them in the final few issues, I kind of thought, you know, maybe they're going to extend it 10, 20 issues or something and give us a few more miniatures. But they didn't. That coffee is freezing. It's almost like it's been in the fridge now. But I'm not too bothered. It's still drinkable. Extremely drinkable. It's really weird the way that's dried out. I know a lot of people say GW paints dry out loads. I've left on Typhus issue. Oh, you stopped on the Typhus issue. Typhus was good value. Yeah, it was. How much is Typhus on the GW website? Oh, I wanted to look at Gear Guts as well, didn't I? Ooh, let's right. That I'm not going to recover that just by shaking it, so I'll put that to one side. Where is my other lead belcher? There was one that was slightly more workable. I think it's that one. Give it a good shake. Shake, 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 shake it. There we go, that's much more workable. Right, now I need to choose which paintbrush I'm using. That one will do. Did a quiz last night with my friends. I was the quiz master. So, I did a Family Fortunes round. I did an Answer Smash round, which is basically where I give you 2 clues. And you have to merge the clues together to make one answer. So, for example, the 35th President of the United States, the initials of the 35th President of the United States, and the initials of a chicken restaurant. You have to merge them 2 together to make one long answer. So, if you want to answer that in the chat, feel free. And I'll give you a further clue about the 35th President of the United States. He was assassinated in Dallas in November 1964, I think. Around the 60s. No one's going for that question in the chat, are they? Not too hard, is it? I've got another one if you want another one. So, here's another one. JFK is the president, but what's the chicken restaurant? A fried chicken restaurant. So what you have to do is take... Glad I'm not a Kennedy. JFK and KFC, yeah. So what then you do? You have to merge those 2 answers together. So you get JFKFC. Amazing. It's off... There's a quiz show over here called House of Games, which is on in the afternoons on BBC, or early evenings on BBC. And it's one of the rounds on there. So another one, for example. What was the other one I was just going to tell you? Oh, I've forgotten it. I've got the thingy here. Right, that's a plan for a future video. Let me see what I've got here. Right, let's see. Right, so this one's going to be probably a little bit easier for English people, but the American rapper who was the first candidate to concede in the recent US presidential election, and a British seaside town in Somerset famous for its grand pier. So you have to get them 2 answers and merge them together. If you need a clue for the rapper, he's married to a Kardashian, I believe. And he once had his jaw wired shut and created an album with a title related to that. So the first is Kanye West, correct. Now, what is the British seaside town in Somerset famous for its grand pier? I think only a British person would get that, because it's not like a town that's known outside of the UK, really, as far as I'm aware anyway. I'll give you a clue. It starts with West. No one's going for it. I'm going to come in with the answer in a second. The answer is Western Supermare. So you take Kanye West, you mash it with Western Supermare, and you get Kanye Western Supermare. JR Blazing Arrow came in there just as I was saying it. So I'll give that to JR Blazing Arrow with the assist from Alex, who knows that it's Kanye West, of course. So fantastic stuff, chat. Working it out between yous. Have I got any others for you that I think would be good? There's another British Seaside Time related one which I won't do. Okay, so there's a seasonal autumnal Starbucks drink. And another name for the Mormon Church. So what is the seasonal autumnal Starbucks drink? You just making things up. Supermare, yeah, Western Supermare. It's real, that, Brack. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, Western Supermare. Right. Yeah, so a seasonal Starbucks drink. Seasonal autumnal Starbucks drink. What could that be? What do you get in autumn? Around, I don't know, Halloween, Oktoberfest time. You get these everywhere. And you can make, yes, or Latter-day Saints is part of it, yeah. So Latter-day Saints is the second half of it. What is the first half? So it's the Church of the Latter-day Saints. And pumpkin spice drink, yeah. So what kind of pumpkin spice drink could it be? Could it be a pumpkin spice latte day Saints? Yes. I can tell you're all having loads of fun. I'm dragging this out, aren't I? Can you even see that? Now let me get my Cadbury's hot chocolate drink. We don't have those in Australia. Unbelievable. Oh, you don't have many Starbucks in Australia though, do you? Do you have any Starbucks in Australia? That's what one of my mates told me anyway. Alright, let's get that a bit closer to the camera so you can see it. Pumpkin spice Latter-day Saints. Amazing. I'm a genius, aren't I? You have a few, but not too many. You know what's really irritating? I live in Manchester, right? And I like Starbucks coffee above all other chain coffee places. So we have Starbucks here in the UK. We have Costa. We have Cafe Nero. They're the main three chain coffee places. And then there's like a few that are sort of sandwich shops as well and stuff. But out of the sort of dedicated coffee chain places, I like Starbucks. And in Manchester, there's loads of Starbucks, but they're all in the city centre, and I don't work in the city centre anymore. Now there are other Starbucks, but they're all franchises. So you can't use your Starbucks card in there and get Starbucks rewards and stuff like that. So when I used to work in the city centre, I used to get a couple of Starbucks a week easily, but I can't get them anymore until I go to the cinema. My cinema's got one, and I do get a discount because I've got a Cineworld Unlimited card. So we get a discount on the Starbucks in there. So that kind of makes up for it a little bit. But yeah, for years I didn't get many Starbucks. But the good thing is I'm a lorry driver, so whenever I stop at services, I can try and stop at one with Starbucks. And it's not the end of the world, is it, not being able to get Starbucks? I mean, I've got my own coffee machine now, bean to cup machine, so I can make my own coffee drinks if I want. It's not the end of the world. It's just me having a little moan. There were more Starbucks in Japan when I went than in Melbourne. Yeah, it's weird the things you do and don't get in certain countries. I think it's because I don't know the ins and outs. So you got McDonald's and stuff like that though, haven't you? So maybe not. I don't know. But do you have your own sort of branch of coffee restaurants that's really big though? I imagine you do, don't you? Or do you just have sort of local coffee local independent coffee shops, mainly, that sort of not dominate the high street, but dominate that sort of branch of retail or the service industry. Same with McDonald's in Japan. Yeah, we have a few chains. Right, what am I doing here now? I don't know. I've got the metallic paint now, like I'm going to go mental with metallics. And then I don't know where I want to put it, to be honest. I'm just going to move that out of the way for the time being and start working on Macari. I say start working on Macari, just get a little more done on Macari is what I aim to do here. I'm going to get a different brush though, I think. I'll paint his main thing on top. I'll try and hold it up for you so you can actually see what I'm doing. Yeah, so I went to start painting this when I was watching a stream the other night, Macari, and all sorts of things went wrong. You'll notice he's missing his banner. It snapped off as soon as I picked him up. And then, as I was painting him, he fell off his base because I forgot I'd blue tacked him to the base, so in the future I can sort out proper basing. Yeah, so I just blue tacked him to the base to get him sprayed, undercoated basically. And then, so all sorts of things were going wrong the other night when I was trying to paint this bad boy. The reason I stopped on Macari in the first place is because I felt I needed more reds, and because I wanted to use contrast paints on him, like just contrast paints, apart from metallics. Because I wanted to use contrast paints on him, it was very much a case of just stopping until I got more. So that's where I'm up to with Macari. That's a decent little bit of focus there, isn't it? I wonder if when I get a webcam, if I'm going to be able to get this level of focus. I'm just going to switch my other screen over to see how that looks on stream. Just hold it there a little bit longer. So I'm painting with my arms right up in the air at the minute, elbows planted on the desk. Yeah, nice little bit of focus. He's coming along nicely, as you can see. But I'm enjoying painting him again, where I've just stopped before and yeah, I don't know, kind of stopped. Yeah, Coffee Club is common as well. Gloria Jeans is the main one. We're just getting over here Tim Hortons, which a lot of Canadians talk about. It's like the Canadian version of Starbucks. But yeah, I think in terms of British coffee places, like a chain coffee place, I think Costa's British, but I'm not entirely sure. What do I want to do now? I wanted to change that screen, didn't I? I'll change that to that screen, so when I put this miniature down, I can come straight in with I'll tell you what, I will go to a smaller brush now momentarily because I want to get into some little finer areas. Yeah, I think Costa is British, but it's a chain one as well. So yeah, it's just like, it's weird how different places get different things and stuff. But obviously tea was much bigger over here in the UK than coffee until, say, the 90s or something. And I think Friends and Frasier had a lot to do with it as well, with the switch to Friends and Frasier just changed the entire tastes of a nation. No, it was obviously a number of things, but coffee companies wanting to sell more coffee and adverts with Anthony Stewart Head and stuff. Right, another brush. I'm not going to ask you any more quiz questions, don't worry. I do intend to find a decent way of getting some music on the channel in the future as well, so when I stop talking, it doesn't become so apparent that I'm not talking. Brush lickers unite. Oh no, that's dried out on the palette. Should probably get a wet palette then, shouldn't I? Oh yes, look at that. Little bit of detail work here, so I will go quiet for a second or two. Quite happy with that. The way my lights are set up, I feel like they're just slightly in the wrong position. I need one behind me. I've got one in front of me and then one sort of to the side of me, but I feel like I need one behind me. Oh, the bristles are sort of flaying on this as I'm using it, which is irritating. I find that happens with GW brushes a fair bit. The bristles sort of flay more than other brushes. But these ones, I didn't buy these separately. They came with Conquest or Mortal Realms magazines, these brushes. So I'm not too bothered. It's given me a good chance. That's one thing about the magazines. They've given me a good chance to try a few things like brushes that I wouldn't normally try, because I was going for Army Painter. Every time I brought a new brush, it was an Army Painter brush, or just like a cheap brush, like cheap synthetic brush from like the Works in the UK, which is like a hobby store. Brack saying when he was in the UK in the 90s, coffee was hard to find. I did find a nice one that at Manchester Art Gallery. Yeah, Manchester Art Gallery, and sort of these arty places. There's a place called Home in Manchester now, which is like a combination of art gallery, craft sellers, theatre and stuff like that. They have sort of little independent coffee places and stuff in there. There's loads around Manchester now there. There's one called Black Sheep, which I think is in Manchester, Edinburgh, London. There's a few of them around the country. And there's some like in abroad somewhere as well. But that was really nice. I had that the other week. But there's loads more like independent ones now. Where I work, which is in Derbyshire, not in Manchester, there's one called Twig that I go to on the regular. And that coffee is not to my taste necessarily. It's a bit more fruity rather than that strong sort of bitter taste, and I like that strong sort of bitter taste, and you get that with Starbucks. That's why one of the reasons I like the Starbucks coffee. It's not like the best coffee in the world, but it's a good solid coffee, I think, that one. Modern for Vantage, you need to do a live stream Christmas quiz, mate. Oh, that's not a bad idea, is it? I may or may not have a Christmas video in the pipeline already, though, unfortunately, so I might have to save that till next year. The big fat quiz of the year. Oh, to be fair, that's what Chilling Wargamers did last year and the year before, I think, didn't they? So yeah, you might have to nip over to their channel to check their quiz out if they do that again this year. Who knows? Maybe they'll invite me on. And I'll wipe the floor with them. No, the problem with their quizzes, they ask non-GW related questions, and I struggle to get all the GW related questions right, so I'd really struggle when they start asking questions about third parties and or just like non-GW companies, so like Warlord and stuff like that. I'd be like, I don't know. Maybe if they add a phone a friend option, and then I can phone you, Kaiser, for all the like Warlord related questions and stuff, and smaller companies related to like the historical World War II products I know in particular, then maybe we can team up somehow. I've not even been invited on yet, but yeah, I think it's more of an actual active Chilling Wargamers member thing, that though, so I don't think I'll be on that. Right, oh, you know what? I've not even got a picture of him up here. The great thing now that Gazgul and Makari are available separately from GW, that not in the Prophecy of the Wolf box. The great thing is, you can actually get a 3D image of them that you can spin round, which for ages, oh, why have I gone to YouTube? For ages, Games Workshop. For ages, I was just using a 2D image from the internet, from like Google image search. Where's English? UK English. I don't need it in English anyway, I'm only typing in Gazgul in the search bar. That's the same in every language. Gazgul Tracker, Gazgul Tracker, Gazgul Tracker. Yeah, so Gazgul's 42 quid. I think Gilliman's around 42 quid as well. I reckon that Sigvald the Magnificent miniature will also be around, the 45, 50 quid mark. Right, so that is metallic. Oh yeah, there's a lot of metallic I need to do on the helmet, on the base as well. And there's a lot of metallic I need to do on the banner. Right. Seriously though, mate, when we are out having this out of this COVID nonsense, we need to have a game. Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Where are you based? I've got Milton Keynes in my head, but I don't know. I know you're not from there. I know that much. Well, I think you're not from there anyway. Or is it? I don't know. For some reason, I've got Milton Keynes in my head. But I'm willing to... My phone's going mental. I should have put that on Do Not Disturb, shouldn't I? Yeah. I'm in Luton, but can happily get a train. No, I can travel as well. So between us, we can sort that out when we do that in the future. I do want to get a little practice game in by myself though. In the meantime, I've not had the urge to play 9th edition yet. But I just want to sort of so basically, so it doesn't take all day to record when we do get a game in. I'm assuming you want to record it. Yeah, so you're not having to remind me of rules all the time and stuff. I'm sure you'd be willing to do it, but I wouldn't want to inconvenience you like that. So yeah, I would like to get a game in with a few YouTubers. Absolutely, and yourself amongst them. We can do something else, Warcry or Kill Team. Yeah, cool. We'll have to wait and see what happens in January with Kill Team, I guess. Because, yeah, you know that I'm a fan of Kill Team, so it's... I need to turn them lights off behind me. I've got these colour changing lights on the desk behind me and it's right in my eye line and it's taking my focus. I don't know why I put them on, to be honest, because it doesn't affect the stream. You can't see it on stream. If there were some lights behind me, it might be a bit interesting to you, but yeah, the ones behind the desk there, they don't do anything. I just turn them on automatically when I turn the computer on now. Creates a nice little bit of interest in the room, but you can't see it on camera, so what's the point? Oh, you know what? I've just realised I've got that right where the... I've got to get it in the right position. About here. Great thing about having him blue tack to the base is, if I want to pull him off, I can do. And try and get into a slightly more difficult area. Oh, I've got to guide these bristles between his belly. I've got to guide these bristles between his belly and the... try to get that. There we go. Between his belly and the staff there. So it's going to be a bit tricky. But I think I can do it if I have a little faith. Look at that magic. So, that's what he's looking like. He's looking okay. What time is it? It's 10 minutes past 9. So I think this is going to go a little longer than I intended it to. It might go all the way up to 10 o'clock. Let's put him back on his base now. That way round. The chat's going off, and if I miss any messages and you want me to see them urgently, just put at Big Mac Danskull, because I'm only picking up on the occasional message because everyone's talking amongst themselves as well as potentially asking me questions. What I'll do is put you up on the other screen as well, and then I might notice it a bit more. Glenn was saying his first 9th edition game was yesterday. It was fun, but lots of having to stop and checking things. Yeah, that's one of the things when you like. I started doing small Conquest related games, so I was getting the Conquest magazine, and I started doing the games on my channel, recording them and stuff. And I was sort of picking it up and checking the rules less and less. Although because it was new units in each game, I was still checking rules fairly frequently. And you don't realise how long it takes, especially when you're filming, how long it takes to film it all when you're checking the rules and that. So what might end up being a 45-minute video probably took you at least an hour and a half to film, if not longer, because of all the editing you've had to do. Oh, I do need to get that Macari miniature back up on the screen now. Yeah, we'll have that there. I like to paint him pretty close to the art on the website, so it's recognisable as that particular character. Sometimes I'll vary with characters, but most of the time I like to stick to the paint scheme or close to it. So if I painted him entirely blue or something, what's that? Have I messed it up? No, I think it's all right. Yeah, so if I painted him entirely blue or his skin pink or something like that, it wouldn't look like Mikari to me. Now I get if you've got the Pale Orc on YouTube, check him out if you've not already done so. Some fantastic conversions and a really interesting way of approaching painting orcs. He paints them with pale flesh, but he paints all the armour green, so they still look very orky on mass on the table. Yeah, but I know there's plenty of people in the chat that do already follow and are subscribed to the Pale Orc, so I'm probably telling the wrong group of people here. Well, yeah, if you wanted to stick to that theme, that scheme, then, you know, there's not a lot you can do. Oh my giddy aunt, let's wash my brush out. Just going to get some Vassar. Let's have a look at the chat while I'm pouring the water. Orcs versus Space Wolves, says Glennar. Ah, nice. Just trying to make sure the water doesn't go all over my desk. Wow. That's really nice to see on screen, wasn't it? Me licking my hand. So you'll notice I've just poured the water directly into the mug I was drinking the coffee out of a second ago, because I'm weird like that. Because that mug was dry, the coffee was going to dry on the inside. And rather than have to scrub a little bit harder when I'm washing my cups, what I like to do is, if I'm having water anyway, then I just pour the water straight into the cup, and then it doesn't dry out as quickly. So I shouldn't have to scrub as hard when it comes to washing it. We played a basic mission. He won on victory points, but I tabled him except for one Cyberwolf. Oh, so you almost got the victory. Sounds good, sounds fun. Do you need your Warlord alive to get the command point each turn? I don't think so, because his Cyberwolf survived on a 4+ save last turn, so it was down to one roll. That is an exciting sounding game, to be honest. Big Mech with shock attack gun killed a 10-man intercessor squad in one shot. It's crazy what you can do with a Big Mech with a shock attack gun, isn't it? Do I want to try and get a bit more paint on that? Yeah, I think I do, to be honest. I think I need a finer brush, though. Not to put too fine a point on it. Not singing any more of them words, 'cause I don't want to get demonetized. So I'm just trying to get the rim of his sort of wristwatch here. I wonder what that actually is. Be interesting if we ever find out. Is it like a compass on his wrist? Is it a wristwatch? Because do orcs use time? I don't believe they do, but I could be wrong. If you need Orky lore, you need to check out the Hobby Gate, but also the War Bosses of the Apocalypse. Or Orc Apocalypse, depending on who you ask. Yeah, I think that's alright. The worst thing about 9th is that the game is much longer than 8th. If you want to play 2,000 points, it's 3 to 4 hours. Well, that is bad, in my opinion, because... Well, it's bad in your opinion as well, because you say the worst thing about it. Because what I enjoyed about 8th was the fact that the games were much quicker than 7th. So to make the game longer again, it just becomes irritating. It's like you're taking 1 step forward and 2 steps back, or 2 steps forward and 1 step back. Yeah, so that's a little bit irritating to know, because I've not actually I've not concerned myself too much with game length when I've been looking at back reps and stuff on the internet. Because people edit them down, don't they? So you don't know how long it actually went for, unless they tell you. Just trying to get the helmet on the base painted here. Spin that round, because I want to see the front. Got that in my head now. With another birdhouse in your soul, who watches over you? I don't think I'm going to be able to stop singing it. Yeah, so I think overall people like Ninth, don't they? But if the game's becoming longer for say a 2,000 point game, then I probably won't be playing 2,000 point games. When I eventually come to play it, I'll probably play around the 1,000 point mark. But the thing is, in my experience at least, and this is in previous editions, so it might not be the same now, but in my experience, with an Orc army, if you want to use the specialist units, you've got to play at a high level game, because I don't think they work as well in low level games, because I think an Orc elite army, it's hard to sort of pull off. Now it may have changed because of the way the rules have changed overall, but yeah, if you've had experience of elite armies, Orc elite armies, let me know, because I would like to know if, say, I could run a Flashgits army, mainly Flashgits and Knobs, that kind of thing. I know Spud did against, not Flashgits, but mainly Knobs against Pickle Jar. And I don't think he did too bad. He didn't disgrace himself. But also he forgot to put all of his units on the table, didn't he? He brought them with him, but he didn't put them on the table. He forgot about them. So he was missing like 300 points of units or something in the battle report that ended up on Pickle Jar's channel. Just a schoolboy error. I think I might even need a finer brush here. I might need to get the Psycho out. Whew. I went to wash my brush on the Haldor then. Yeah, I just painted one panel on that, didn't I? And then moved it to one side and decided I'm going to try and paint some fine detail on Makari instead. Just checking you can't see my head in the desk down shot there. That would be quite irritating, wouldn't it? Oh, my tummy's rumbling. I'm not particularly hungry. That looks like it's not even touching on camera. Just using the trying to round. The one thing I don't like about the Army Painter brushes, because they've got this triangular sort of shape to them, you can't roll them in your hand as easily as a GW brush, I find. You can't roll them as smoothly. So if you're trying to round off your bristles and sort of bring them to a point, it's a little harder to do than on, say, a GW brush. I know Skarner says, if you're painting on stream, stick to base coats and washes, because when you're doing fine details you want to shut up and it makes your stream quite dull. But I think you're all still there, chatting away amongst yourselves. Oh no, I've only got 4 viewers now, so I've dropped 4 viewers in the past 20 minutes or so. But not to worry. I'm just putting this metallic on various areas now. I will be touching on the gear gut stuff as well once I've finished doing a little bit of detail on this Makari. I'll go back to the Gear Guts website. And let me see, is there any more metallic there? Don't think there's any more on there, but I'm going to do a bit on his banner. If I can, yeah. I was going to say I couldn't find his banner, but I'm just going to do a little bit on his banner. And then I'll go to the Gear Guts website and we can have a look at the sort of prices we can expect. We can try and work it out between ourselves. I get into a habit when I'm painting with these army painter brushes. I tend to just keep using them. So this is a it's like a fine detail brush, but I use it for I get into a habit of using it for base coats and stuff. Just wait until the missus calls me for dinner, says Brack. So, what are you having tonight, Brack? Anything exciting? Was it burgers last time? I think it was burgers last time, wasn't it? When you had to rush off. I can smell it cooking, so it's going to happen any minute now. Oh, that's irritating. I was hoping you'd be around to see the Hangout stuff, but not to worry. Fried rice, nice. Love a bit of fried rice. Oh yeah. Should have really painted this before I started painting that red in on the banner there. So I'm trying to get these bristles to come together into a point and get between that red. It doesn't matter if the red has an edge of a metallic though, because it's like the armor, it's like the paint rather. The paintwork's chipped off a bit. So that's all right in my book. That's sort of drying out on the palette now. Try and get that in there. Oh yeah, so definitely connected with that red and there. Yeah, it looks quite good though actually. I think, at least. Oh yes. Tell you what, I'm just going to quickly go over to the Hangout site now and then we can have a look at it together, just in case we manage to get it done for Brack. So we want to switch these around, display capture and phone, switch them around, boom, Hangout's website. So, Hangout's, Steve-O put a video up last night. Okay, got to go see you, no worries Brack, catch you later mate. Steve-O, 6plus Steve-O put a video up last night saying Hangout is doing a Black Friday sale, 25% off. So, we can have a look at some of these and then work out between us what 25% off means. So let's look at the Mech Grandpa, which is £3,000 in the UK. It's a fair old whack, isn't it? Yeah, but you can get 25% off that, which would be, what, 750 quid off? Is that including this? We currently have a 1 to 2 week dispatch time, Black Friday sale, 25% off everything at checkout. Yeah, so a miniature that's, I say miniature, it's probably massive, but that's £3,000 would then be £2,999. Now, it's different on the different sites you go to. So if you're on the UK site, it's 25% off. I think on the US site and European sites, I think it's 25% off as well. I've got a feeling on the Australian site, I think Steve-O said it's 15% off instead because of the shipping costs. So they've taken that extra 10% to try and cover the shipping costs a little bit, I think. I follow one Spanish wargaming YouTuber that interacts with their followers on Instagram by making a hashtag like Painting Challenge November, and we paint our works in there, and he does a humble opinion. Nice. That's not a bad idea at all. Not a bad way to collect. If you give it a very specific hashtag, what you've got to do is make sure it's not a hashtag that's used by something else. There's a wargaming hashtag that I've seen people use, and it's actually a hashtag for something else as well, but I can't remember what it was, but it was like models or something. Not hashtag models, but it was like, you know, modeling shots and stuff that people use it for as well, something like that. So this is an absolute beast of a miniature. I can't zoom in. Can I control zoom? Yeah, there we go. Control zoom. Big beast of a miniature. This is like a gargant. So off the desk, I can't really show you. So it's not this big. I go right back. It's like, I imagine it's like this big. Let's see in the description. We'll go back to the description and see if it says there what size it is. The granddaddy of all walkers, the Met Grandpa, arrives absolutely covered in weapons, turrets, and armour. This titanic construction dwarfs all others. This is a massive miniature. It doesn't say, oh, there we go. Standing just shy of 4 feet tall. So I'm saying this big. It's way bigger than that. It's like the height of this table behind me off the ground. That is a huge miniature. I didn't realise it was that big, but I did wonder why it was £3,000. That is an absolute beast of a miniature. That's like the size of a 12-year-old. That's not had a growth spurt yet, but a 12-year-old nonetheless. That is amazing. I didn't realise it was that big. Yeah, no wonder it's £3,000. Let's go back. But yeah, you can save £750 on that at the minute if you're on the UK website. You've got the Orc Bruiser here. Orc Bruiser C, which is like a weird boy bruiser. Weird boy knob kind of thing. Any more pictures? Oh, you can buy with Google Pay as well. Interesting. So for 25% off this one would be £11.50-ish, thereabouts. So you're getting some great value miniatures. If you get a few of them as well, then I'm sure the shipping works out nicely for you too. Let's go back. We've got some Squigoth style miniatures here. We've got Bulldogosaurus Carnes Amris Maximus. Wow, that's a name and a half. Which is £75. So 25% off that. This is getting harder to work out for me. 25% off that would be about £60, wouldn't it? Or about just under £60, like £57.50 or something. Yeah, so this is like a Squigoth alternative. Completely different sort of size to the Squigoth though. Does it say how big it is? No. Yeah, he's got a few little guns on there and stuff as well. But completely different shape to the Squigoth. The Squigoth, this is relatively close to the Squigoth, this thingy one. Cromlech one, Norzilla. It's relatively close in size and in layout to the Squigoth. Whereas that one, it looks like the front paws at least are very much wider than the body of the miniature. Have you noticed this Orcs brand? Have I noticed it? This Orcs brand. You mean the one I'm looking at the minute, the Gearguts one? I've not seen it. I don't have any first-hand experience of it. But I know Steve-O speaks highly of him, and the War Bosses of the Apocalypse speak highly of him as well. There's a Naught B and a Baby Mech B. So the Naught and the Baby Mech, I assume, are very much like Gorkanaut, Morkanaut sized miniatures. £76, so again you're looking at about £57, something along those lines, £57, £58. A lot of shooters on there, a lot of Dakka. That's like a Gorkanaut, that one really, isn't it? It's got 2 shooters on the claw arm, it's got rockets up here, it's got a rotating shooter on the other arm. And then some fantastic looking tanks, like orcified, almost orcified versions of Imperial tanks. So this is like almost like a glaive, or not a glaive. I think the glaive's a big one, isn't it? So the smaller sort of 30k tank, it's that kind of open track design. Warglaive, the clave, I can't remember what they're called now. But yeah, that's that kind of design, but very much rusted up, orcified. Good looking designs, £30, so then you're looking at £22 for that one. Let's see, they did have some War Bosses of the Apocalypse miniatures, which I would be tempted to get if they still have them. They've got a Bruiser Boss with Claw. All the characters look fantastic, to be fair. They've got a Scout Chopper there. Let's have a look at that one. That's $14.99. So you're looking at $14.99. You look at £11.50, aren't you? So that is an alternative to a Deathcopter. Nice looking miniature, nicer than the GW Deathcopter that they sell on the website. Still 4 viewers at the moment. Bruiser Medic, Bruiser Prime, Bruiser Shock Trooper, Goblin Crew. So this is an alternative runt herd, which is nice to get alternative runt herds, I think, because it's something that you don't see an awful lot of, or you're not likely to see an awful lot of. I mean, other than converting them yourselves. I mean, you can get a pack of Gretchen for, what, about a tenner, 12 quid, something like that, and that comes with a runt herd in it. So this miniature in itself is £14, but to get a bit of variety in there in your units, just attach a squig at this end of the chain here. It's fantastic to get him in there, although it looks like, oh, it's a Goblin Crew you're getting, actually, so it is an entire Goblin Crew you're getting here, with a number of Gretchen. Let's see what it says. 8 models in total with 7 Goblin Crew. So it's a little bit more expensive than buying direct from GW, but you're getting a good variety of miniatures there, aren't you? It's fantastic, and it adds a lot of variety to your Gretchen units. Or if you want to use them as crew on something like a Norzilla, then you can do. And there's a Copter A, which is the Chinook alternative. Lovely looking miniature. Easily pile a load of boys on there, like they're ready to, a lot of commandos or something, like they're ready to deploy, jump off. Lovely looking miniature. So 45 quid divided by 2 is what, like £13 odd off. So you're looking at a low £30 there, low £30. Let's see if we can find the war bosses. Oh, there's 12 pages. I'm not going to find them just by flicking through the pages, am I? Maybe I'll need to search and put in Stevo. But there's so much variety in miniatures here. I'll just keep scrolling down so you can get a little look. There's goblins, there's mech units, there's, you know, alternative Imperial Knights like this one here, the salvaged Mega Mech. That looks like the Knight Porphyron. £115 and 99p. So saving, what, like close to 30 quid off there. So you're getting it for £85 ish. There's a Gearguts the Boss. Let's take a look at this bad boy. So this is how he envisages himself, I'm sure, on the battlefield. He's got a absolutely mega shooter there with 4 lots of rotating barrels. Coming back, I do want to see if I can find rocket bruisers. So we've got alternative tank boys over here. We've got pyros, so alternative burners. We've got rumbler tanks. We've got all kinds of tank designs and mech designs. We've got a trike with the 2 wheels at the front there. That looks fantastic. A good alternative to the Deathkiller War trike. And sure enough, here we have Captain Dread. So this is Captain Dread. This is based on Dreadwar Gaming from YouTube. Hopefully, we'll be returning to YouTube at some point in some form in the not too distant future. Fingers crossed. Other than on the War Bosses of the Apocalypse podcast. But yeah, this is a version of him, and I'd be interested in getting this. £21.99, so 22 quid, saving 25%. And then you're looking at saving £5.50 off that, aren't you, I think? Yeah, so you're getting him for 15 quid, 16 quid, £16.50. And they did have them in a set, but I think that was when they first launched them. Stevo's the same price. Again, a miniature I'd be looking at getting. All of the War Bosses of the Apocalypse, I think. I think it's a cool little way to have variety on your battlefield and miniatures that represent fellow YouTubers out there and fellow hobbyists. It's fantastic. Let's continue. So we've got the Hobbygit here as well. Bam, bam, bam. The Hobbygit is very much a fan of goblins, Gretchen and stuff like that. So another fantastic miniature. It looks like a war boss size runt herd, basically. Fantastic. Couple of goblins hanging off his back there as well. And let's see if we can find Mr. Skarner. I wonder if I've missed him on that page. Oh yes, there's a unicycle odd bruiser there. That looks fantastic. I'll continue. But if I can't see him on this page, a Skarner miniature, I'll just type in Skarner at the top, see what happens. Skarnir. There we go. So you can still get the four war bosses. Oh, I think that's an STL file though. That's not. I think it is anyway. So here's the Skarner miniature. It looks like he's looking at a sort of a hololith projection on his hand. He's the thinking war boss. He's got a sort of double-barreled shotgun almost there. Yeah, fantastic looking miniatures, all four of them. So let's go back to that war bosses one. I think it's an STL file. This so. For £23, if you've got your own printer, you can print your own. The 4 war bosses each rule their own splinter faction of the Bruiser army, and they rarely agree on anything, as each enjoys their own version of how to make war. Though when they do work together, nothing can stand in their way. No fortress will defend against their combined might. This is a set of 4 resin figures, each representing one of the 4 war bosses: Skarner, Dreadwar, the Hobbygit, and 6+ Stevo. Is that? It's a bit confusing that, because it's got a price $22.99, and it's saying a set of 4 resin miniatures. So to me, that's saying you're buying them separately. What I'd do is probably contact him to double check you are actually getting all 4 there, or do you have to select 4? I'm going to add to cart and see what happens. View cart and checkout. Yeah, so it's still saying $22.99, and you can see already that the Black Friday price reduction is applied at the checkout. So yeah, it's really cool looking. Have to go. Gonna have to shoot. My son wants to watch Miffy. What's Miffy? He keeps grabbing the tablet and swiping you off. Absolute what disgrace! You can't swipe me off like that. Never mind though. Enjoy the rest of your day, mate. Yeah, let's get back to a little bit of painting. And yeah, so I'm gonna have to find out about this 4 war bosses collection. Because do you get 1? Do you get all 4? Is it like a random selection? I don't know what the situation is. Because I want to buy all the 4 war bosses together, but I doubt I can get them for 23 quid, like that suggests. I think that's a slight error on the site, probably. That it's probably worth contacting him about. Yeah, so let's get back. Oh, it's 37 minutes past 9 now. What I'll do is come back to the painting bit, and I'll try and finish off this little bit of painting on the banner for you on this Makari miniature. Five viewers at the moment, so the viewer rate is constantly going up and down. Not to worry though. It's what we expect on these streams. It's kind of like a relaxed, casual stream. I do this one at this time to try and catch people in other countries that don't manage to catch the Tuesday night stream there. Inevitably, I do get some sort of early risers in the UK. It's not particularly early when I do the stream though. It's just some people like a lie-in, especially on a Sunday. So a lie-in for non-English speakers is extra time in bed on a Sunday morning. Yeah, in the UK, a lot of people really like to spend extra time in bed on a Sunday morning and just like get up at a relaxed time and stuff like that. But I'm not ordinarily one of those people, so that's why every other Sunday I do try and make sure I do one of these hobby live streams, or I am trying to from now on going forward. Just so people in other time zones have got a chance of catching me. I woke up on Saturday morning at about 3 o'clock in the morning, and I watched a good chunk of Frost and Fists Friday night live stream, which was cool to watch because I don't always get to watch that live. But yeah, I watched a good chunk of it there, and then what else did I do? Oh, I need to get my Makari image up, don't I? Right. So, where else do we want a bit of metallic? I'd say we want it around here. Oh, yes. Trying not to go too much on the colours I've already blocked out. These colours on the banner, by the way, they're all contrast paints. So the bright red is Blood Angel's red, and this red here is actually Flesh Tearer red, but really thinned down. So it doesn't look like Flesh Tearer red. Flesh Tearer red's a really deep, rich red, but because I watered it or thinned it down so much, I think using contrast medium, if I remember rightly, it looks like a much paler colour. And then I've gone with Black Templar here, watered down, and sort of dragged the brush to try and get the Black Templar to flow up it a little bit, and it's created quite a nice blend on that fabric, in my opinion. It looks a bit harsh on camera actually, but in person it looks a lot less harsh. Bye Dan, have a nice day. Have a nice day, Alex. Everybody's dropping out. Essex boys, haha, sorry, fell asleep and just woke up. No worries, mate. I was just saying to non-UK people, a lot of people in the UK like to have a lie-in on a Sunday and tend to get up nice and casually. So they just have a nice relaxed Sunday morning, a lot of people. So yeah, that's a fine example of that anyway. It's demonstrated it quite well there. Yeah, I'm not normally one of those people. Like, I'll have a lie-in if I've got like a hangover or something like that maybe. But normally I get out of bed like a regular time anyway, because I'm awake, so I might as well get up half the time. Although yesterday, after watching a bit of Frost and Fists at 3 in the morning, I did sort of fall asleep as I was I woke up about 7 or something after that, and then I fell asleep again till about, I think, 8 o'clock. So it does happen occasionally. To me. Oh, you've done great work on the tank, by the way, Clint. Looks absolutely fantastic. Really does. Absolutely fantastic. Spin him round, have a look at the back of him. That's a really dark metal on that top bit there. What I'm going to do is just paint it with the same colour because I'm going to darken it up with contrast paints probably even Black Templar on this bit here. Oh no, that's completely out of focus, isn't it? Let's take some of this off and then see if it's oh, that's still on screen, isn't it? But at least my hand covers it. But yeah, so this bit on the image on the GW website is much darker than this, but I'll darken it up with contrast paints, probably Black Templar on this bit in fact. It's really difficult to get the right position when I'm painting like this, because I'm looking at the miniature and then occasionally I'll glance up to the screen and I'll notice it's out of focus, which is irritating, but then I'll also notice I've gone sort of behind myself or off screen or something like that, so like it's there behind the box, which is no good, so you need it in more of this sort of position. It's not so bad when it's behind the chat, but ideally I want it in that fine gap between the chat and the box where my head is. Painting burns can burn the body out. Painting burns can burn the body out? What does that mean? Let's spin that round again. Have a quick look on the front of that, because that looks like... What's that bit? That's... Oh, that's the back of that bit. Right, okay. Okie dokie. Ah, right, so it's painted metallic at the front. I see. I get it now. Right, yes. So I should just paint that metallic then, shouldn't I? Oh, yes. I thought I'd just dip my finger in the paint then on the palette. Absolute divvy. Absolute divvy. Speaking of burnout, I know Pickle Jar did a video a little bit about hobby. He's lost his hobby mojo. at the minute. That's why you've not seen as much content from him. So it's it happens to us all, doesn't it, really? Some people like to power through it, basically, but I can't do that. I tend to have a break from the hobby when I lose my hobby mojo. But I feel like at the minute, I don't want to speak too soon, but I feel like the way I'm doing these hobby hangouts every Tuesday, more or less, I feel like that's given me a good amount of hobby. Now, I do hobby on other nights when I'm watching people's streams and stuff. But the hobby hangouts seem to be giving me a good amount of hobby, but not overworking me hobby-wise. So for me at the minute, I've got a nice little balance. I managed to achieve a nice little balance that I haven't always achieved in the past. So I'm quite enjoying the hobby life at the minute. Yeah, let's paint most of this on the back of the actual Macari miniature. Most of this on the back is painted in metallics. So I'm just going to slap this lead belcher all over big chunks of the back. And then, like I said, I do use a fine detail brush to base coat a lot of the time. When I've got it out, I just keep using it. Yeah, so I'm just going to slap metallics all over various parts of the back here. I think I need a bit more water. Try and keep that from drying out. But yeah, it takes a little bit longer obviously when I'm using a fine detail brush to do base coats. I'm an absolute numpty. Right, there we go. So that's the metallics done on there. More or less. Let's see if we can get in there with this. Yep. Oh yeah. See if we can get in the nostrils as well. Just gone down to my desk, so I've got a little bit more control. I know you can't see what I'm doing really, but you've got an idea at least. Out of interest, I'm just going to click onto the stream on this screen over here and see exactly what you can see. I'm guessing you can't see much of it, especially if you're watching on your phones and tablets and stuff. But I want to see if you can actually see any detail when it's just down on the desk there. Yeah, that's not too bad, not looking too bad at all. Let's paint a few of these little links here as well. Maybe pick out a few of them, a few of the bolts. A few of the rivets and bolts and stuff. Oh, that's a big chunk of black on that bone there, I've just realised. Let's go back to that, just give him a spin round. Have a look what that bone looks like at the front. That's mainly all painted white. Yeah, so just pick out all the links and whatnot. A few bolts here and there. Yeah, you can't see at all what I'm painting when I've put it down on the desk there, but I'm going to have to do it for my sanity, no, for my eyes really and stuff. So I'm holding it in a nice steady position and whatnot. I think that'll do for the time being. It's 10 to 10 now. I was intending to go just for an hour. And I wasn't sure if I was going to work on my Norzilla or on my Norzilla or my Macari. I was intending really to work on the Norzilla so you can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. But I'll give you a little close-up of Macari once I've washed this brush out thoroughly. And then... Can you hear that well on the mic, I wonder? Got a message on my phone again. Yeah, so... give you a little bit of a close-up on the Macari, so you can get an idea of where he's up to. The banner was attached previously. I can't hold the banner in position. I sort of hold it there, I guess. So that's sort of what we're looking at. If I can get him into a better position. So that's sort of what we're looking at so far. That's probably a bit further. I can just remove that, can't I? So yeah, we're looking at this here. He's looking half decent, I'd say. Absolutely half decent. Oh, look at that, magical. Yeah, I'm enjoying working on him, to be honest. He's coming together nicely. I've shared a couple of images in various groups and stuff. Thanks very much, Essex boys. And I really am enjoying working on him. So I'm hoping when I finish this guy, I'll get back to Gazgul, I'll finish Gazgul, and then I'll crack on with the Norzilla and another Christmas project I'll be working on. An Orky Christmas project I'll be working on in the not too distant future, which I'm not going to go into great detail about yet, but let's just say keep an eye out on the channel in the coming weeks and you might get a good idea of this Christmas project I'm working on. Yeah, it's... I'm just watching... It's just got up to the bit on my screen over here. It's just got up to the bit where I'm showing him off on screen, so I want to see how close and how focused it is. Yeah, it's looking decent on screen, actually. It's a half decent alternative setup I've got here with the... I'll just tilt my camera up so you can see my phone. So there's my phone there. And that is connected via a local area network to Streamlabs, and it links to the Streamlabs on the computer, but it's slightly behind, as I've said on previous streams. So I'll put my hand in here, then my hand comes in there. So it's about 2 seconds behind. It's not too bad. It could be a lot worse, but yeah, I'm enjoying working on Makari. I'm close to finishing him. I might try and finish him today, in fact, and then hopefully it'll give me a boost to get back to work on Gazgul, and then I'll get back to work on the Norzilla. But I'm kind of on the Norzilla at the minute. I'm kind of doing him on Tuesdays. But if I hit a bit of a wall and I'm not sure where to put certain colours and stuff like that, I might just flip back to Gazgul. That's the great thing about having a few projects running at once, and some people do that to avoid burnout. On the subject of burnout again, so excuse me, it's yeah, it's very much going from one thing to the other that sometimes enables me to go a little bit longer. Essex Boy saying, yeah, get Gaz done. I need to, because I started work on him ages ago. And I've picked up a few new contrast paints as well. Not that I'll be using them on Gazgul, but one of them you'll notice, I'm showing them there, I could just show them there, couldn't I? One of them you'll notice is a purple one. So the purple one, the Magos purple, I might see how that goes on the gums of the Norzilla and stuff as well. I think, looking at it, looks like it's going to be a little too purple to me. Because I know some people wanted Rivets and Daka in particular. Gar was saying he wanted the gums looking more purpley, and he wanted a bit of a Drucci Violet wash on the tongue as well. I was like, oh, I'm not too sure about that, because I really want the tongue to be like that pale blue look, almost like it's not getting enough blood to it or something like that, you know. I want it to look like a sharp contrast from the red of the Squigoth. So yeah, that's pretty much. I'm just going to bring the Squigoth up here to show you where I'm up to with him and show you what I'm talking about really as well. You can see that orange is really shining out now from on the underside. So yeah, he's looking a lot less ready, and the skin is contrasting more with the scales now. So the scales are a mixture of like a Flesh Terror Red contrast paint and what contrast paint did I use over it? Was it a water? I think I used a watered down black. No, it was a watered down wildwood. It was. It's like a dark brown, really dark brown wildwood. And then if you look at his face, you can see his gums are sort of grey purple, and his tongue is like a bright blue. Yeah, so that's what I've gone for there. And that's what I'm talking about when I say the purple. I don't know if that purple is going to be. You never know what it's going to be though with the contrast paints. That's the problem until it's dried. So what I might do is do a quick test miniature first. But I feel like that purple could be a bit too dark for the gums. But I'll do a test miniature first and see how it dries before I decide whether to use it or not. So that's where I'm up to with various miniatures. You've seen Makari, you've seen the Norzilla. Gazgul is a little too far away to reach now. But I need to start painting Gazgul's base as well. I think I'll do that similarly to with my orcs now, I'm going for like a tarmacy base for the most part, like a city urban rubble base. I find that basing so easy to do. I did it on some of the contrast miniatures, conquest miniatures rather. So the Space Marines I got in that, and the Death Guard I got in that, with a little bit of variety with the way I wash the base and dry brush the base to give it a little bit of variety between the two forces. But they can easily, it looks like they're playing on the same battlefield when they're opposite each other, because it's that urban battlefield. Just trying to get a fine point on my brush before I put it away. There we go. Oh, that's exciting, isn't it? Let's get this one as well. Oh yes, let's see if we can do the same. Right, you know what guys, you know this already I'm sure, but if you'd like to help support the channel, you can do so in the description below. There's a link to my Patreon where you can donate to the channel. You can also use Super Chat in live streams. It's a bit late now. Nobody do a Super Chat now, that'd be ridiculous. And you can donate via Streamlabs as well. There should be a link, I think, in the description to my Streamlabs thing. I've not looked into that too much, but I know some people use that as a donation link as well. So yeah, thanks very much for watching guys. Thanks very much to all who came and joined me throughout the stream. There's links also in the description below to my other socials, my Facebook and my Instagram if you're not already following me there, or if you're not already liked the Facebook page. You can do that in the description below. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.